insult. I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God.
Boy, have we had so many meltdowns in the month of March. I figured let's go through all of the best CNN meltdowns for the month of March. Now, despite all of these meltdowns, the Tesla stock is still going up because a lot of these meltdowns are going to revolve around Elon Musk. Now, before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. Let us begin.
Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey.
Insult. I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God. And I think what she should do is go on TV twice as much as she is right now, maybe 3 times as much, because every time she appears and makes one of these mistakes, says something radical, it only further divides her party from the rest of the other 80% of America who can't stand this.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. I think and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But it's Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude has to be knocked over the head hard, right? There is no niceties with him. At all.
I think you have to be very careful when you're talking about people with disabilities, and I don't think she was careful, and I don't know her enough to say she's not being honest. I'm going to tell you, it sounded bad, and I just want to finish. I think this party is trying to find a way to look tough and to show fight, but this is not the way.
Correct, Madam.
And to be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing.
Alright, let's stop here. The reason why the beginning of this video is very Congresswoman Crockett heavy is because the month of March has really been honing in on her towards the end of the month here. The statement she's made about Tesla, wanting to take Tesla down, the statement she's made against Governor Abbott, calling him Hot Wheels because he's in a wheelchair. Again, things are not looking too good for her, and it was actually very hard to find other Democrats actually telling her to tone it down. I could only find Van Jones on CNN actually making a public comment to say, you need to tone it down. This is a very bad look, but let us continue.
The treatment of this guy is outrageous. These people who are doing this need to be found, put in jail, and made an example of. That's my point.
Anyone who commits violence against Tesla or Congress or anyone else should be put in jail, 1,000%. But that should not stifle dissent or opposition from Elon Musk.
Give it a little lip service. Give it a little both sides. Go ahead.
So both sides here. I'm so sorry.
Dr. Voters, this is why you guys are polling so poorly.
We're not. Wait a minute. We're polling poorly. Can we just revisit the Democrat congressional approval rating?
Congress is polling poorly. Donald Trump is also polling poorly.
He's twice as much as Democrats in Congress.
40% of the American people.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number 1 and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And
because his political
does it look bad for the president to support an American company that employs thousands of American workers?
No,
I don't think it looks bad.
No, he's supporting Elon Musk.
Who do you think builds the cars, brother?
Elon Musk builds the cars?
No, the workers of the United States of America, where they build the. They're
I'm
building
telling
cars
you right now.
Now, I have been gathering clips for YouTube since October. I gather about 30 clips a day, and then I organize everything. I want to point out the majority of these clips, especially today, are all about Elon Musk, especially in the month of March. But despite all of this, it's pretty crazy to see that at the very low, we hit a 222, and now today, as I make this video, it's at a 285. Now, there have been announcements made by Elon Musk and Tesla as far as future innovation, but a lot of this definitely has to do with Donald Trump actually sticking up for Tesla. But I want to point out, the majority of meltdowns are definitely about Elon Musk and trying to crash the Tesla stock and company.
I have to be careful about being a smartass. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor. They are the most literal people. But on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state. I mean, that's their investment fund. Point, what a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund.
But the problem is there's an audience for it. I heard Jimmy Kimmel's audience cheering on Tesla vandalism. I hear the Daily Show audience cheering on attacks on Elon Musk. I hear the human rights audience cheering on an attack on a man in a wheelchair. And I realize this is what the left has become, an angry mob of people who are cheering on attacks on a guy in a wheelchair and vandalism against people who bought a Tesla. It's pathetic.
Now, one thing we are noticing is a complete narrative shift, because Democrats and left-leaning media, you typically saw them going after DOGE and the DOGE efforts, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, but then there was a shift, go after Elon Musk specifically, go after Tesla, because it's the most visible thing a regular American can protest, and that's what we're seeing across the country, because Americans, you can't do anything about DOGE at the end of the day, and this clip really shows why I think CNN and other left-leaning media outlets are trying to stay away from going after DOGE, because DOGE, they are exposing some pretty ridiculous things, and the majority of Americans don't like how ridiculous these things are either.
You ask Americans, should we eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? You'll get a lot of response for that. If you start defining waste, fraud, and abuse as things that they value and workers that are essential, they're going to have a much different view. So the initial blush of Musk with his chainsaw may have had some resonance. The fact that he's cutting down stuff indiscriminately, less so.
Well, it's not all indiscriminate. I mean, we don't really need to train for mice, do we? I mean,
that's not even real.
It is real. I'm sorry, man. It's real.
It's not. No, listen.
Is it real or not?
Hey, hold on a second.
Did we have to say it was real or not?
No, hold
it's real.
I mean, Musk was a sheep.
How about the
It's a real thing.
No,
so look, my point is,
listen. They weren't talking about trans.
Don't defend the mice.
No. Listen, you don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about it. But there were it wasn't trans. It was a different term that was misinterpreted as trans. They were actually doing basic medical experiments on mice to figure out.
Don't spoil a good troll.
It's just not true.
Jennings is having a good troll.
And look, these arguments speak for themselves. Scott Jennings half of the time doesn't even have to try as far as how ridiculous it is, the things we are finding. And one thing that Democrats will always say is, well, that's not the full truth, or we're not spending that much money. But regardless, I think it really hits home for the hardworking American when you know you're paying your taxes into the government and it's going to pretty odd things that you didn't know we were paying for.
Look, Tim Walz is a complete moron to me. I have to be very honest, and I'm not surprised why the American people did not choose him. Nothing against the vice president. With that said, Elon Musk employs 80,000+ Americans. Most of them are working class people. The implications of the stock, let's say this were to continue on for another year, so I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Will the company at some point have to decrease its workplace? Most of those people, I would imagine, probably vote for Democrats, at least some of them. So now you're impacting people who likely share your worldview because you disagree with Elon Musk. Don't buy the car. Just like those guys are saying, let's protest Anheuser-Busch, etc. We're just not going to buy their beer.
Now, one of the biggest news stories of the month is, of course, the data leaks that was given out to the public from the Atlantic reporters saying that Pete Hegseth was releasing classified information. You can leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this. I will let the clips speak for themselves.
Is this defensible in the slight? I don't understand.
Well, I think two things can be true, and it shouldn't be that hard to just say out loud. Communications about this were not well handled. It was a mistake. Mistakes lead to teachable moments, and the president's had hard conversations with the people who were involved in it, and he's quite certain that they've learned from this mistake. I mean, he said that in so many words.
Does it make sense to you that the president would be angry about this?
Of course, because it's detracting from the other thing that's true, which was this was a righteous hit. The president made a good decision, reversing a bad policy from his predecessor. We hit the bad guys. We did what we were supposed to do. The United States military once again proved it is the most ruthlessly lethal, efficient fighting force on planet Earth, and we are making shipping safe again. So the military, our fighting men and women, and the bureaucracy that supports them did its job here. And we've been on the air for 12 minutes and 33 seconds, and I'm the first person to say the mission was a success. What did we learn? High-ranking officials having a thoughtful policy discussion, well executing a military plan to take out people who need to be taken out. There was a lot of concern about this national security team when it was appointed that, hey, they didn't really know how to do these jobs.
Yeah.
Given what the U.S. military just did
I think we were
to
right.
the Houthis, given what they just did, and given the way it was executed and handled at the highest reaches of our government, I have a lot of confidence in the president's decision-making and his top team's ability to carry out.
That is bananas. We just saw.
We did exactly what we wanted to do.
Yes, but one wrong move.
Do you not acknowledge that?
No, it almost blew up.
This is rank incompetence, and I am very fearful.
What did we learn? High-ranking officials having a thoughtful policy discussion.
Now, what's interesting about this whole thing is that in less than 48 hours, despite more text messages being released, Republicans and conservatives, nothing was swayed. Democrats did not gain enough momentum for this story to be that big of a deal. I think mainly because the Houthi mission was a success. If the Houthi mission was a disaster and was not a success, we would definitely be having a different conversation.
6 months, and then to take a longer time to understand which government jobs needed to be rooted out. He fired a bunch of people. He ended with a budget. It's been done. It's just the way that you guys are doing it.
I know.
Is
and the way that
absurd.
we're doing it is that you don't want us to do it. In 2019, we spent $4.4 trillion as a government. Last year, we spent $6.2 trillion. The government's gotten more expensive and much larger over the last 5 years. The only question Republicans have is, does it have to be this large and does it have to be this expensive? That's the question. And Elon's finally trying to cut into it, and the Republicans in Congress need to help.
Well, you guys should start it in your own house because your president drove up the deficit as much as anybody ever has, maybe more than anyone.
And why? What happened at the end of Trump? Any memory of it?
I do remember.
I find it really troubling because they ran on this whole idea of this pseudo-patriotism, this regressive masculine patriotism, yet everything they're doing runs against making America great.
Well,
it was never great, so I'm not going to say the again part, but making America great. You're trying to defend the indefensible. Yeah, I absolutely feel that way. I absolutely feel that way. And I think if you had the history that my people had in this country, that you might have a modicum of understanding and respect for that. America was never great for me.
I think when we talk later about why the Democratic Party is so unpopular,
I'm not here to represent the Democrats. I'm here representing me, and I think it is a common understanding that America may have been great for you. It was not great for me.
That everything has gone up.
Now you're changing. It's not a cut. You're being
dishonest.
It's a cut. It's not a cut.
It's a cut.
Continuing funding the government at the same levels. It's not a cut. You voted to shut down the government. You voted to lay off every veteran in the federal government. You're making a passionate plea for why Democrats didn't shut down the government. And now Chuck Schumer can't even have a book tour because Democrats are so enraged that the government was. And I'm just confused because last week I was told that people going and expressing their First Amendment rights was part of their democratic and civic duty. And now Chuck Schumer can't even have a book party with Democrats over it. I'm trying to decide.
Scott, I actually think that Democrats are in agreement with you in the sense that they probably think Chuck Schumer should,
yes,
to
exactly.
Gary's point, take the stool.
2 weeks ago, he was attacking
show up and take the he should show up and take the L is what I'm saying. No one's saying he can't have it, Scott. He can do whatever he chose to, but once again, another example of him deciding to hide. I would love for him to go on the book tour so that he can answer the questions of the American people. Security risk perhaps may be true, according to what Abby has said and what his office is saying.
Who would be the security risk, though?
I don't know.
Who would be the security risk?
Wait a minute. The book is about.
Who is the risk?
Scott,
Can we just admit who the risk is?
The book is about anti-Semitism. Right, so I guess somebody that might be anti-Semitic might target
the left.
Chuck Schumer.
All right, if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything. It's been quite the month, but we still have a lot more work to do and a lot more stories to report on. Thank you for everything. God bless, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.